Welcome to Turf Talk Long Sleeve Weather Edition. Vance, it's about 10 degrees outside. I did not wear my usual polo uniform, although I'm in a polo shirt.
Yeah.
Technically a polo shirt, actually polo.
Whatever works and keeps you warm on this blustery day in central Kentucky works.
Yep. More importantly, though, I am standing alongside the newest voter for the Racing Hall of Fame. Congratulations on that honor. I know it's one you'll take very seriously.
I appreciate it, and it's a great honor and privilege to have that suffrage for the Hall of Fame. I've been studying racing history most of my adult life, and even going back to my teenage years, so I'm very excited to have this opportunity.
All right, yeah, it's somewhat of a slam dunk maybe this year with Zenyatta and Rachel Alexandra both up for election, but definitely some other always some interesting debates around trainer and jockey. Steve Asmussen will be back on after his PETA flap, so we'll talk more about that once we actually see the ballot, but definitely wanted to mention you being involved, and well done.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to have that opportunity.
And speaking of votes, you have a blog post coming up on what you call Rogue Eclipse Award votes, and pretty much by the book this past weekend. Surprises for me would be just how handily Javier Castellano won. Wouldn't say I was surprised he got the statue, but I did think it would be a little closer. I voted for Victor, but certainly understand why others went in a different direction. Laverdad, I mean, that was obviously one of the choices, wasn't who I picked. Same with same with 3-year-old filly, Stellar Wind, someone you bargained for.
Yeah.
To me, though, the biggest surprises weren't who got first place votes here and there.
Yeah, California Chrome got 2 for the Older Male Award, which is kind of off kilter since he didn't win a single graded stakes race in the U.S. He was second in the San Antonio, second in the Dubai World Cup, and there was just a scattering of a handful of votes here and there in various categories where the choice of the voter just didn't make any logical sense.
No, and with California, and I'm definitely Nick Kling calls them the voter police, and I'm not among them. For better or worse, it's an open ballot. There's no multiple choice or anything like that. You can vote for who you want. The only proviso is he or she had to have raced once in the U.S. That's how a horse like Golden Horn was eligible despite not winning. California Chrome, though, it's hard to argue, and I mentioned it on Twitter, and a few people responded. Maybe it was a protest vote, various reasons. To me, the older male division was, there was no standout, but there were several horses who won multiple prestigious Grade 1 races in the division. It just didn't make sense for me.
Yeah, Honor Code was well deserving with his 3 graded stakes wins. Liam's Map was a close second in the balloting, and then you had other horses like Tonalist, Shared Belief. I really couldn't see them being worthy of the honor, but they make infinitely more sense than California Chrome, just having won multiple graded stakes.
And one of those things, not really a surprise, but still when you see it, you realize how impressive it is. American Pharoah unanimous Horse of the Year choice. Really the only choice, but again, it's an open ballot. People may have went and, it only takes one person not to make it unanimous. No one did. Anything else surprise you from the ceremony or the awards list?
Just going back to the voter tabulations, I was very surprised at the margin of victory that Stellar Wind had for 3-year-old filly. That wasn't even a close ballot whatsoever. But otherwise, everything was in order. Laverdad got scraped by with about an 8 vote plurality over Wavell Avenue, which I was very happy with. I know a lot of people, some pundits out there were saying, hey, she didn't win a Grade 1 race, she shouldn't have been eligible for this award. But when you're facing other Grade 1 winners in a race like the Gallant Bloom, which is technically a Grade 2, in my eyes that's a de facto Grade 1 event.
Sure. Even
though the committee doesn't recognize it as such. She had a much more a campaign that had more depth to it than Wavell Avenue, who lost a couple of overnight stakes at Saratoga and then won the Breeders' Cup. But other than that, those are the only things that stood out to me this weekend.
Yeah, I went for the Breeders' Cup winner, but for the reasons you stated, understand that direction. I actually voted her second, so it's not like I didn't think she was without her merits. And really, in a division like that, where there isn't the Grade 1 depth that you have with older males, 3-year-olds, etc., you do have to look at those grade 2s and see who lines up. And a lot of times, especially when they're in New York or Southern California, they're going to be better than the grade 1s that might be elsewhere, just a factor of who shows up. Lastly, wanted to touch on this past weekend, Kenny Mayne of ESPN fame called a race, and Twitter erupted. Not as much chatter on Facebook that I saw, but really some people, upset that he had this opportunity. I just feel like someone like that, he has more power with one tweet than most of us combined do in terms of reach. He seemed to have fun with it. I don't know, it was such a tempest in a teapot. What'd you make of it?
I actually didn't get a chance to listen to the race call, although if you know Kenny Mayne from his days at ESPN and doing some horse racing coverage, you know he'll put a lot of humor and lightheartedness into anything that he does. And so, I think it's good publicity for the sport. He's a big face on the general sports scene. I think horse racing should embrace him whenever they get a chance to use him in any capacity. And, right now Santa Anita's just trying to find their best announcer. They have Frank Miramati calling and Michael Rona. They're eventually going to choose somebody. They're going to invite other announcers to, test, kind of a job application of sorts. And it's okay for a one-off to have Kenny Mayne call a race once in a while.
Well, it gives you a control of how bad it can be too, and maybe patrons some respect for the job the pros do day in and day out. But yeah, really interesting feedback that he got afterwards. We'll see what happens down the line. We'll look forward to the segment on ESPN. We'll share the video on Twitter when it comes out. All that good stuff. In the meantime, stay warm.
You too.
All right. See you next week.